After gaining the power of the system, it led me to defeat the surrounding guards one by one. As I was about to attack the judge, a strong guard planned to judge me with the hammer in his hand. However, I am not afraid. I crushed the hammer with my bare hands and defeated the guard. After resolving all the guards, I killed the judge in prison. Due to the prolonged battle, I was exhausted and fell into a pool of slime. After the system took over Roen's body, Roen used the power of the system to knock down and kill one guard after another who rushed towards him. He lightly waved his weapon and knocked out all the guards surrounding him. The blood of the defeated guards splattered everywhere. The other guards were stunned when they saw this scene. As they watched the increasing number of corpses among the guards around them, some of them couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. What? How could? The guards stood there dumbfounded, afraid to take another step forward. Before they could react, another group of guards fell at their feet. While they were still immersed in Roen's immense power, Roen changed his weapon again. He tightly held onto his weapon and ran to a guard at an extremely fast speed. The guard only realized that Roen's next target was him. However, he had no time to dodge Roen's attack. Roen moved quickly among the four guards, passing by them like a blue meteor. He waved his weapon and activated his abilities. The blue flames were burning fiercely in his eyes, as if expressing his high emotions at this moment. He showed a victorious smile. Soon, the four guards let out painful screams and fell to the ground, losing consciousness. Roen quickly ran back to the judge. At this moment, the judge realized that Roen had already run towards him. However, he was too scared by Roen's actions to move and had no time to dodge Roen's attack. He stared blankly at Roen, unable to say anything. Roen jumped up forcefully, tightly gripping his weapon and aiming it at the judge's neck. His weapon emitted a blue light, as if announcing the fate of the judge. Blasphemy person. Suddenly, a voice rang out next to the judge. A very strong-looking guard rushed towards the judge. He is even taller than Roen. He swung the large hammer in his hand towards Roen, blocking his attack and avoiding harm to the judge. The hammer collided with Roen's weapon and made a very loud sound. The judge looked at the scene before him in great shock. This guard stood in front of the judge like a huge shield. He exerted all his strength to resist Roen's attack. He witnessed Roen killing other guards and making a mess of the execution scene. He was very angry about Roen's behavior. However, he was not afraid of Roen's abilities. He cursed Roen loudly. "Dirty heretic! You didn't obediently suffer death and dared to commit murder." The guard vigorously swung his large hammer and slapped Roen out. Roen didn't have time to react and was thrown into the air by the hammer. Then, the guard quickly ran a few steps towards Roen and jumped into the air. The earth beneath his feet trembled slightly due to his footsteps. He clenched his large hammer tightly and held it up to his head. He said to Roen, "I give you a hammer of judgment." The guard's hammer quickly swung towards Roen and hit him hard to the ground. Roen didn't have time to dodge the guard's attack. He was hit hard by a hammer and fell to the ground. He was hit in a big hole in his position. Due to the strong power of the guards, several cracks appeared directly on the ground, and some soil blocks flew up. A very large amount of dust and sand was raised on sight. Roen didn't seem to make any sound. The guard maintained this posture and observed quietly for a while. When he thought Roen had been killed by him, Roen suddenly spoke up. Judgment. At this moment, the guards seemed to have noticed something. He looked down at his hammer and felt something strange. Roen reached his hand in front of the hammer and grabbed it with force. Several cracks appeared on the surface of the hammer, and it made a cracking sound. The guard's hammer did not actually hit Roen. Roen resisted the hammer's attack with his strength. He slowly pushed the hammer upwards to prevent it from continuing to press downwards. He felt very angry when he heard what the guard had just said to him. They used strange reasons to imprison him, but now they are executing him very casually. They have been using insulting words to disdain him and look down on his identity, even trying to judge his current behavior. He recalled these things while saying to the guard, "You are just treating me, a refugee, as an ant, and making me a sacrifice that can make the parliament member feel relieved. But now, I am judging you." Suddenly, Roen widened his eyes. The blue flames in his eyes were even more intense than before, as if expressing his anger at this moment. Roen immediately stood up from the ground. He used the power of the system to destroy the guard's large hammer with his bare hands. A bright blue light appeared on the surface of the hammer. Then, it made a very loud noise and shattered into various sizes of iron blocks scattered on the ground. The guard was very surprised by Roen's power. He never expected that Roen would not only not receive any harm, but also have the strength to resist him. Now, he had no weapons in his hands to resist Roen's attack. The judge standing behind the guard felt very nervous when he saw the scene in front of him. He feels that the current situation has developed towards a more serious direction. Suddenly, Roen pushed off hard with his feet and leaped into the air. He jumped even higher than the wall behind him. Due to his strong jumping force, the position where he just stood has already stirred up a cloud of dust. The guard noticed Roen's figure. He looked up at him warily, not knowing what he was going to do next. Roen raised his right hand and clenched it tightly into a fist. With his fist pointed downward, he swiftly descended. He kept accelerating his flight speed, like a missile aimed at an object, towards the position where the guard was standing. The guard was very nervous when he saw Roen flying towards him. He was so scared that he didn't dare to move. He didn't even have time to avoid Roen. Due to his only weapon being destroyed by Roen, he is now unable to counterattack. Soon, Roen landed at the position where the guard was standing and punched the guard with his fist. There were many very large cracks on the land, and a very loud sound was made. This also represents his strongest counterattack against those who disdain and insult him. The guard was instantly knocked down by him and lost consciousness. A huge amount of dust instantly rose from the execution ground and surrounded Roen. Although the remaining guards couldn't see clearly how Roen and the strong guard were doing, they were already starting to feel scared when they heard the loud noise. Their bodies were trembling uncontrollably, so much so that they could barely hold on to their weapons. They nervously stared in the direction where Roen was, while slowly retreating. "Escape! Escape quickly!" The remaining guards abandoned their weapons and quickly fled from the execution ground in all directions. If they continue to attack Roen, they will eventually become like the guards before them, unable to stand up again. They had already witnessed Roen's strength, so they decided not to attack him anymore. Amidst the smoke of gunpowder, Roen's eyes still gleamed with blazing blue flames. He looked at the fleeing guards with serious eyes until they disappeared from the execution ground. A gentle breeze blew by, dispersing all the dust on the execution ground. The blue sky appeared above Roen's head. The remaining blue energy floats in the air, shimmering with dazzling light. The bright sunshine shone on Roen, as if celebrating his survival from the guillotine and victory in battle. At this moment, Roen noticed that an important figure had disappeared from the execution ground. He turned his head and looked in the direction where the person was running away. The sound of a person running and the sound of a person panting echoed in the hallway of the prison. At this moment, another rapid running sound suddenly appeared in the hallway. The person running ahead made a fearful sound and increased his running speed. But not long after, he was caught up by those behind him. After running for a while, the judge fell down in the hallway of the prison. He looked nervously at the person slowly walking towards him and kept retreating. He is very afraid of the current situation. He waved his hand and stuttered as he spoke. "God, please bless me. How could this happen?" "Just a minute. Please. I can give you anything you want. I will go and appease the parliament member." "No, I can make the parliament member stop pursuing your crimes." The judge said a lot to Roen, asking him not to pursue him anymore. However, Roen did not want to listen to him. He tightly held onto his weapon and continued walking towards the judge. Just now, in order to protect the judge, some guards in the prison also rushed forward to attack Roen. However, they were all quickly killed by Roen. They collapsed near Roen. Seeing that he had no intention of stopping, the judge continued to step back. However, there is only one wall behind him. He has no way out. Seeing that the judge had no way out, Roen raised his weapon and swung it vigorously towards the judge. The judge widened his eyes and nervously watched Roen's movements. He kept persuading Roen, but it seemed too late now. "Please spare my life." Soon, the judge's head separated from his body and fell onto the prison corridor. The judge's blood gushed out of his body like a fountain and splattered everywhere. Then, his body collapsed to the ground as if it had lost its support. After the judge's voice disappeared, the prison became very quiet. Roen slowly put down the knife in his hand and stood there blankly. After a while, the sound of the system started ringing. The transmigrator has been detected to be in no life-threatening condition. This body takeover has officially ended. At this moment, a black slime appeared behind Roen. However, he was still immersed in what had just happened, and didn't seem to notice it. The blue flames in Roen's eyes slowly disappeared. This also means that the system has left his body. Soon, Roen regained consciousness. He looked at the scene in front of him and seemed a little surprised. The system continues to remind him, "Please improve your skills as soon as possible, and do not rely too much on this system." Suddenly, Roen knelt on the ground. He covered his stomach with his hand and felt that his body was very uncomfortable. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood. It seems that his body has suffered significant damage. Roen felt a lot of pain all over his body. He looked at the large amount of blood he was spitting out and silently said in his heart, "Could this be a side effect of the system's attachment? It hurts so much. My body seems to be about to crack. But it's also over." Roen seems to have lost consciousness. His body uncontrollably fell backwards. Roen didn't notice that he had fallen into a black slime. After Roen fell, Slime's body spread. Slime doesn't seem to have any other changes or reactions. Due to exhaustion, Roen lay quietly asleep on Slime's body.